Good afternoon, guys. My name is Curtis A. Dieter. I'm an author of fantasy, science fiction, and horror. For those of you that don't know, I've been writing for a really long time, and I am super stoked to announce my young adult fantasy novel, Ronald the Ronin, is out today. It's the first in a trilogy of novels, and it is centered a lot around navigating trauma and PTSD and depression with a little bit of real world appreciation for music, specifically hip hop. It is a bit of a portal jumping story where a big part of the magic is that the characters are able to go from one plane of existence to another. These planes I've dubbed islands, and it really allows me to play and explore with my imagination and creativity. So most of it takes part in a real world adjacent, and then all these different other planes of existence are, limitless as far as what they offer. Today, I want to read to you first the prologue, and then I'll do another video for the first chapter. But I want to give you a little bit of taste to see if you guys like it. And if you like it, as a local, small, independent author, I would love if you pick it up anywhere you want to go. We'll talk a little bit about that afterwards, but every little bit of support helps. So without further ado, I'm going to read Ronald the Ronin, book one of the A Servant's Creed trilogy, and this is the prologue. Before flames rose from the hillside like cherry blossoms erupting in spring. Smoke plumed, choking the emerald forest in puddles of rolling black. Akuma Araki breathed deep, her lungs raspy and strained. She could not understand why she was choking, just like the trees. All she understood was the smoke and the heat and the violence. She had never been so afraid in her life. Before today, fear wasn't an emotion she had ever contended with. Hunger, loneliness, wonder. Never fear, not like this. When they came, whoever they were, life as she knew it came crashing down. One moment she was comfortably asleep, dreaming of fox whiskers and streaming gyoza, clutching the bamboo doll her Obachan had made to her chest. The next, father was shaking her awake, the fire spreading throughout the village, engulfing everything within its reach. The flames were so hot she could feel them on her cheeks and nose. He jostled her from the safety and warmth of her bedroll into the front room, sweat and ash already stinging her bleary eyes. Father ignored her questions, offered no explanations. He squeezed her tight, ordered Mother to gather only what was important, and yelled when she hesitated at the threshold of the life they'd built together. There is no time. He grabbed his arm. He grabbed her by the arm. You must do as I say. Tears streamed down Mother's cheeks, drawing squiggly lines in the soot caked below her bloodshot eyes. She tried to yank herself free from Father's grasp, who, despite his roughness, seemed to only want to keep her safe, keep his whole family safe. My jewelry box! Just then, the beam supporting their house cracked and crashed to the floor, reduced to no more than splinters. Dust and smoke filled the air. Fire spread in all directions, and Mother slipped from Father's grip. She tumbled to the floor, crying out in pain. Had she not fallen, Akuma was sure Father might have struck her. She knew Father as a man of little emotion, a patient and quiet man. Akuma had only seen him lose his temper once before, after a threshing incident that had taken one of her brother's arms at the elbow. Benjiro and Itsuki thought a fake duel like the samurai of legend would be a clever way to pass the time. It ended in blood, and Father beat Benjiro black and blue as the village Ichiko tended to Itsuki's wound. With Akuma still clinging to him, Father helped Mother to her feet, an unfamiliar wetness glinting in his eyes. Ren, he barked, and nothing else. Ren, how could Akuma have forgotten her sweet baby sister, left alone, crying behind the cherry blossom soji at the back of their hut? By the way, her mother's eyes widened and her mouth dropped. Mother had forgotten, too. It was a look Akuma would remember forever, one of horror, of vulnerability, one last glimpse at Mother's tear-dropped cheeks before Father wrenched her outside into hell, to face the gold devils who had come with fire and steel to burn everything in her world to ash. And she never saw her mother or sister again. Had she known, she would have grabbed them, held them tight, told them one last time how much they meant to her. And where had Benjiro and Itsuki gone? Fighting, surely. A farmer's boys, skilled with hoe and sickle, giving their lives to protect the village, a waste, like the rest of the village's forfeited lives. Now that Akuma was alone with the cold, choking on the dark, billowing smoke that was the simmering remains of everything she had ever known, these questions and more raced through her mind. For the first time that night, she cried for her family, for her village, for all those who died so needlessly, so suddenly, so violently. Rain trickled from the branches above, dripping cold on her exposed neck and shoulders. Besides the added chill, she hardly noticed the wet tickle down her back. What was a little rain when she was already covered in blood and soot and sweat? There's nothing left. No one. Mother, father, Ren, Benjiro, and Itsuki, they were all dead. Kaiji and Rose down the hill, their families' terraced rice paddies stomped into an unrecognizable mash of mud and broken stalks. The once clear water stained rust red. Everyone Akuma had ever known, dead. Why? She could not make sense of it. What had her people done to those devils? They did not deserve to die. They never hurt anyone. Akuma had witnessed father's death as she had been clinging to his shoulders, and even in her innocence, she knew the horrific image would be burned into her mind forever. His eyes bulged, the steel tip of a katana bursting from the back of his head. Then he tripped, dropping her onto the dirt, knocking the wind from her chest. There was yelling all around, villagers or devils, people begging for their lives, boots trampled suffocating dust around her. One slammed into her ribs, another stomped her thigh. Before she could reach out for him, father was lost in a storm of dust and noise and chaos. She had experienced blood before, of course, on scraped knees, from the chickens when she helped her mother prepare festival feasts, when her brother lost his arm. She shuddered. The image of Itsuki's wound flashed in her mind until she was sick on a pile of rotten leaves. Tears continued to stream. Rain continued to pour. Memories continued to ache like fresh wounds, festering as she rocked back and forth for what little comfort the motion offered. They are all dead, she reminded herself. But why was she alive? How had she alone survived the attack and made it out of the village? Such a small, insignificant girl. What plans did fate have in store for Akuma Araki? A stick cracked in the forest. Akuma shrieked and scrambled away on all fours. She rolled over a log, pressing her back against it and trying to make herself as small as possible, will herself far, far away from this horrible place. Would death hurt? Or would it be fast and painless, like with the chickens? Just snap. Done. No more pain, no more struggle, no more anything. A millipede crawled out from the log, slithered between her shoulders. She could feel its tiny claws on her chest as it wound its way across her body. She stifled a squeal and clenched her muscles to remain still despite the nasty creature and its prodding antennae. When the purple devil stepped out of the forest, a bow slung over its shoulder and a long sword fastened to its waist, she screamed and crawled away backwards on all fours. She begged the devil not to hurt her, to leave her alone, but the devil continued its approach as if it could not hear her, or did not care even if it could. Like one of her nightmares, no matter how fast she tried to escape, the devil seemed to draw closer and closer, its fang-masked face twisting into a scarier and scarier grimace. Then the devil stopped and brought its hand to the back of its head to remove its face. She screamed again in anticipation of the horrors trapped within. Instead of blood and bone or something equally grotesque, the devil revealed a soft face of dark skin, an almost kind smile of fangless teeth, and sunken, tired eyes. "It's okay," the devil said, its voice like sweet rice syrup. "I'm not going to hurt you." "Leave me alone," Akuma answered, throwing a fistful of mud and twigs. "I won't hurt you," the devil repeated. "I didn't know what they were going to do. I came with them, but I couldn't stand the things they were doing. I'm so sorry." The devil knelt beside Akuma, placed an armored hand on her shoulder. "My name's Che. Are you hurt?" Akuma sniffled and shook her head. Her insides hurt, her heart, her mind, but physically, besides the biting cold in her bruised thigh, she was unharmed. "Why?" she muttered, wiping her face on her sleeve. The purple devil named Che cast her eyes to her feet. "We came because of a prophecy." A what?" "Behold, a child born of struggle and strife," the devil recited as lightning crackled behind her. "Beware, a child born of Shima Gotetsusha, tempered by the fires of her trials. Sower of chaos where there was once order, uprooter of the ancient bonsai, awash in golden waves of destruction, reborn anew under a crimson dawn." Akuma drew her eyebrows together. Why should she care about some stupid prophecy anyway? "Here." The devil handed her a bundle wrapped in dried maple leaves. She peeled back a corner to reveal seaweed rolls and rice balls. "I have a child around your age." The devil's features softened, and she placed a gentle palm on her armor, near where reed met iron at the waist, and another on the way. Akuma felt a deep sadness for the devil, an almost human emotion filled with equal parts regret and dread. She almost pitied this horrid creature named Che and her spawn. Almost. But devils could not feel, and she could not afford to feel anything for them. Devils were devils, and that was all they would ever be. Then the devil made a noise like heavy breathing and looked out over Akuma's burning village. There's nothing left down there, but you're not alone. There are other clans that might take you in, people like you who survived. They're hiding, but if you look hard enough, you might just find them. I tried to stop this, really I did. Was that a tear? Could devils cry? I'm so sorry. I wasn't strong enough. There came a distant shriek, like an eagle's cry, but louder. Akuma covered her ears and whimpered. The devil put her face back on in a hurry. I must go. Survive, child. Never forget what happened here. The devil rested her hand on Akuma's dirty cheek, as I will never forget about you. The devil dipped back into the forest, disappearing among the trees. That was when Akuma first saw it, a monster worse than her worst nightmares. Slim, golden, majestic as it wound its way through the clouds, a plume of gray spikes sat upon its head like a crown of iron. She had never seen a dragon before, but everyone had heard the stories, great beasts of scale and fang. This one shimmered in the sun's returning light, rainwater glistening on its scales. After a series of graceful dives and twirls, it too disappeared over the edge of the horizon, leaving her alone with the mud and the fresh memories and the tears that continued to slide down her cheeks. Excuse me. She waited 3 dawns, hiding in the hollow of a fallen tree trunk and eating the devil's food sparingly. When she could no longer see smoke besides in scant tongues, and the only sounds were the breeze and the eagles, she stepped carefully from the hillside towards the village. All the while she surveyed the horizon. Would the golden dragon return to finish what it started? Was it just now watching from the clouds? The dozen or so huts of her childhood were little more than ash. Soot covered every inch of the village until nothing was recognizable. She could not even tell which rubble pile had once been her home, or which formless heaps might have once been her family and friends. She found her father's corpse, picked at by crows and stinking worse than anything she had ever smelled. Like the village elders, when the sickness struck, she gathered sticks from around the village to build a rudimentary pyre around him. She unburied some flint from ash and lit the sticks, but she did not watch as her father's body forever burned away from their island. The devil had told her there were other people like her, clans, it had called them. It made sense. Theirs was a big island, but Akuma had never heard of any others. Could it be true? Was there actually a chance that she was not alone? Could she hope to find them? She had no idea where to start. She had never traveled more than half a day's walk from the village, and even that had been through thick, ever-twilight forest. First, she walked the span of a white sandy beach, abutting the diamond-studded ocean. Besides crabs and gulls, she found no sign of others. When the sun dropped low in the sky, she gathered driftwood and built a fire that offered little warmth. Still, she was able to cook a crab and listened with her mind closed to the gentle lapping of water just out of sight, until it lulled her into a blissful, almost peaceful stupor. Next, she scoured the forest. She climbed high trees, whistled, and listened for no answers. She trekked on long after darkness fell. Through the treetops, moonlight was little different than sunlight. She saw with hope rather than sight, and if she could not find these others soon, she was afraid she would die alone and become one with the trees. Though she could imagine a worse fate than a lonely death, she was not ready to give up. Finally, she came to the base of a great mountain. There she rested for 2 days, finishing off the last of her food. She climbed and climbed and climbed. At the snowy top, it was colder than expected, and her ragged clothes did little to protect her from the persistent sideways wind. It blew in gusts so strong she could barely see her frost-reddened fingers in front of her face through the white fog of snow and ice. So she accepted that she would die, hungry and cold. She supposed she could not be surprised. She supposed she should not be surprised that a devil had lied to her. Devils could not be trusted. They fed on souls and played wicked games with the living. But she was not destined to die on the mountain. Midway down the opposite slope, she saw faint wisps of smoke venting from within the mountain itself. Cooking smoke, not the suffocating black that had almost overwhelmed her on the hillside. That meant people. That she had not been lied to, and that she was not alone after all. By dusk, Akuma stumbled into this new village, which was 2 or 3 times the size of her own, stretched across a series of caverns that cut deep into the mountain. A tall man with long, windswept hair dropped his pick and ran to catch her as she fell into his arms. He called out to others for help, but he spoke a harsh, unfamiliar dialect. Everything was hazy, far away. They were like ghosts carrying her into the afterlife. She was taken deeper inside, stripped of her tatters and redressed, piled high with blankets and fed hot soup. She was so grateful for their mere presence, she allowed herself to forget the horrors she endured a few short days ago. When the villagers finally left her, she slept. For the first time in uncountable days, she did not dream about the night the dragon came or of the devils. In fact, Akuma Araki hardly dreamed at all. She slept knowing she would survive. She slept and she remembered. When the dreams came, she dreamed of one thing and one thing only: revenge. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the prologue. I am going to also do a reading of the first chapter so you can get to meet Ronald the Ronin, who is the main character. Akuma Araki is actually the antagonist of the story. You sort of get to know her in snippets throughout the book. Hope you enjoyed her origin story. If you do like it, Ronald the Ronin is available anywhere online where you buy your books, and I would be very, very grateful for the support. And if you do end up reading it, drop a review somewhere, let the world know what you think. The more the better. And I will see you soon. Peace.